This is a very crucial and somewhat unseen piece, especially this section of Dabchick. This attaches to my wrist, and it is made from the same plastic that Dabchick is made from, and it will break in time. So I've saran wrapped, cling filmed my wrist, and I'm gonna put this resin over it and shape this structure. Now there are some nuances to this shape here. You can see these little teeth that hold the band, but I won't focus on them at this point. I just want to make a clean, simple cuff. And to start that, I think I'll shape it into something kind of like a long rectangle. Now, because I'll be printing this out of the dark, flexible resin, I can afford to close the gap a little bit. It should be able to get around my wrist and come off again without breaking. Diameters can be quite tricky to gauge, but I would say that might be about it. You want to find a bone, actually, that it can that it can cling to pretty well. And the top one here, I'm not sure if that's the radius or the ulna. That's a good solid point. Okay, that's really nice. Look at that. That was actually the easy bit, because now I have to live my life with this on while it cures for a few hours. Plan B. I'm taping up the cuff thing. There's not really a lot of movement that happens in this part of your body, kind of relative to itself. You know, it's not like right on an elbow crease or something. So I think I should be able to live my life generally normally, and hopefully I won't get any weird looks. Yeah, that should be okay. Okay, so I just had a gym session. Got kind of sweaty, but I think it held up okay. So I don't want this to solidify entirely, otherwise it's going to get stuck on my wrist. So we're about, I guess, an hour and a half, maybe an hour 40 into the curing process. Okay, that's all right. So there are two reasons actually to take it off a little bit early. One is so it doesn't get stuck on the wrist. But the second reason is because we actually want to bend it past where it was originally. So something around there, so that way it has a little bit of grip when it solidifies on the wrist and it won't slip. Okay, so a good tight gripping iteration would be about, let's see. Yeah, about 1 finger's width there. So if I take this off, I could tape it in a position actually that holds it like that. All right. I think something like that should do. I'll leave it like this to cure. The original one, as you can see, has this almost corset-like structure where the shape was the diameter of my wrist, but this allows it just to squeeze in a little bit more. I don't think that's necessary with the material that I'll print this final one out of, because it has sufficient flex, but also a little bit of rigidness too. So we can always add those lace things afterwards if we want to, but let's see how it handles without that first. Just added this stand for scanning it. I think it's pretty well balanced. Yeah. Okay, so the scan worked really well. Look at this piece here. I've added this in the software too. I'll explain that in a moment, but first we're going to 3D print the piece. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, perfect. Look at that. So I printed this piece in the Onyx Impact Plus from Phrozen. A lot of people's reservations with resin printing is the strength. You know, you get the detail, but sometimes they're not quite so tough. So to have a resin of this toughness is really something. Here's a little side-by-side comparison of the original piece next to the 3D printed piece. I've seen Phrozen do toughness tests on this. I have a ceramic tile floor below. So let's see. Just bounced. Yeah, not a dent on it. That's perfect. I do think, however, I slightly misjudged the rigidness of this. So I can get it on, but it really does take some... It wasn't too difficult that time. Ideally, I think it should be a little wider. So I have an idea. Oh, it looks like it's flashing on the video. It doesn't look like that in real life. That's what LEDs do, I suppose. Okay. I do have no idea whether this will work or not. Okay, well, oh yes, yeah, it's getting softer. All right, let's give it a little bit more. Okay, so now if I take it out, yeah, it's way more plastic. Okay, I think it's cool enough to, oh wow, that makes a huge difference. Man, that's thermoplastic properties. That's, I don't think even Phrozen knows it's capable of that. That's wonderful. Oh, so comfortable. You probably noticed the little rail down the middle right now. That's so that I can attach the other part to it and then attach that part to Dabchick's head. So any potential issues with this, Dabchick's head couples to the piece that attaches to this rather than that piece coupling to this piece. So essentially this stays on all day. So it will become Sweat City in there at certain points. So maybe I'll drill some ventilation holes in it. There's actually one more process I can show you. It involves fire, so it'll be fun. The original cuff piece has this ball and socket joint here. But first we've got to make the ball to attach to it so that we can stick that on the new one. So these are stainless steel balls. They got a threaded hole in the middle because these are actually the same type that you can use for lip piercings and things. We're gonna taper the end of this steel rod here. Okay, that should be enough. All right, so now that fits over here, as you can see. We scratch up the inside of this a little bit just to expose a layer of fresh metal. We lick this thing, stick it in the flux powder, get a little bit on there. Clamp it in this. The ball positioned there to keep it in place. We grab some silver solder and a butane torch. We light it up. And we aim the flame mostly at the ball because it's the larger metal objects and it'll take longer to heat up. Yeah, there you go. It's been a while since I've done this actually, so I've got a bit of a glob of silver there so I can shape that a little. Okay, that's a lot better. If this was a stop motion joint, I would be fired for this one, no doubt, but it's not, and the required movement is very limited. We want to limit this twisting motion here, and that's where this little cut comes in handy. So you might think I could have just bent this, but the angle wouldn't have been sharp enough, so I'm going to solder that in place as well. But that's good. Okay, maybe like that. Just round that off a little bit. Okay, that's in there. Now we just got to fold it down. And that's going to be tough, actually. Hey, we could use the hot water. So now I think we could do what we did before and soften this a little bit. And that should make it easier to get this one in. Let's see. Yeah, way easier. Oh, that's a relief. I thought this was going to be a problem. And it's only a slight problem. Yeah, pushed it in and then down the side. So once that cools, that should be rock solid. Just going to bend this upwards a little, move it away from the wrist. Nice. This actually was not a bad result, but I figured I could get a bit more strength by adapting the piece. So instead of being an L shape, it was now a T-shaped piece. So I'm doing the silver soldering here to implement that. That way I could use both notches either side of the railing and get a little bit of added security and rigidity. Okay, so it looks secure. There's a slight little bit of wobble. I might put a little bit of epoxy glue on the top just to get rid of that wobble. But the main thing is whether, with this leverage on it, whether it's strong enough to withstand certain blows and hits and things. So it bent, but at the point I wanted it to. And I would deem that pretty damn secure. So that's a success. If you'd like to support projects like this, I would like to thank you very much for doing so. Here is a link to my Patreon if you'd like to join my band of merry men that are making the resurrection of Dabchick a possibility and have got us so far. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.